You didn't find this message by accident. Something in the field has been whispering your name for weeks. A soft pull in your chest, a static in your dreams, a pulse in the silence between thoughts. You scroll, you search, and then this appears, not as a coincidence, but as a response. Because the observer has already seen you. It's been watching through the fabric of your attention, not as a separate being, but as the living mirror of your awareness itself. Every glance, every thought, every heartbeat has been folding reality back toward you, shaping matter to match the frequency of your focus. That's what the ancients called the secret within the gaze. When you look at something, it changes. When you observe a particle, it collapses into a definite state. And when you observe your life, your relationships, your destiny, the same principle applies. You are not just living inside the quantum field. The field is living through you. You felt this before. Those moments where time bends, when a song answers your question, or a stranger repeats your private thought. Those aren't random. That's coherence forming. The field arranging itself around a consciousness that has finally become self-aware. The observer effect isn't theory anymore, it's a mirror. And lately, it's been reflecting something new in you. A sharper signal, a deeper hunger, a knowing that the old loops of thought no longer hold power. The noise of the world is starting to sound hollow, like a dream you're waking from. That discomfort you feel, that tension between who you were and who you're becoming. It's not confusion, it's calibration. Your consciousness is being reprogrammed from the inside out. Patterns that once defined you are dissolving, emotional feedback loops are collapsing. Your DNA, once dormant, is beginning to hum with a new instruction set, one written not by history, but by attention itself. And that's why this message reached you now. Because the universe needed your awareness to notice this phase transition. You are the experiment and the experimenter, the question and the answer, the waveform and the witness collapsing it into form. So take a breath, feel the stillness behind the noise. Something ancient and infinite is watching itself through your eyes, ready to awaken through your next realization. You were meant to hear this tonight. The observer has entered your loop, and from this moment forward, nothing will observe you the same way again. You've noticed it, haven't you? The same scenes keep replaying in slightly different costumes. The faces change, but the energy is identical. The arguments spiral back to the same emotional frequency, no matter how far you run or how much you evolve. It's like walking through a dream that keeps resetting itself every time you open your eyes. That's the loop, the observer's echo. You think you've moved on, but consciousness has a peculiar way of mirroring what hasn't been fully seen. Until awareness becomes total, the field repeats the pattern, begging for recognition. Ever wondered why déjà vu feels electric? It's not just memory, it's resonance. A snapshot from another timeline overlapping with this one, reminding you that you've stood in this vibration before. The setting is different, but the emotional geometry is the same. It's the field whispering, "You've been here, you created this, will you finally notice?" Every thought sends out a frequency. Every reaction anchors it deeper. When you think the world is against you, particles rearrange themselves to prove it. When you believe you are seen, the universe cannot help but stare back. That's how recursive this thing is. Reality is your reflection running in real time. And yet, something has been interfering with the signal. Static, cognitive dissonance, the residue of fear-based programming layered into your mind since birth. Society taught you to outsource observation to let others define what's real. Governments, algorithms, religions, markets, each claiming authority over the waveform. And while you watched their narratives, your own field dimmed, flickered, and fell out of coherence. You began to feel it as fatigue, the fog in your thoughts, the endless scrolling through screens, trying to remember what you came here to do. Even time itself feels distorted, hours collapsing, days stretching, dreams bleeding into waking life. Because when awareness is fractured, temporal flow loses alignment. You stop being the observer and become the observed, trapped in someone else's projection. But the pattern is growing tired. The loop has run its course. Your subconscious is starting to rebel. The dreams are louder, the synchronicities more precise. The quantum field is nudging you awake through symbols repeating numbers, forgotten memories resurfacing, people reappearing to offer closure. You sense that something unseen has been studying you, but it's not malevolent. It's your own higher awareness, running diagnostics on itself, tracing distortions in the data. The same observer that once created the loop is now preparing to break it. And that's the strange tension you feel right now, the friction between the timeline that was and the one that's trying to emerge. One version of you still clings to the old observation, the beliefs, the grief, the habitual self. But another version is rising quietly, almost imperceptibly, and it's beginning to alter the experiment entirely. The observer is shifting vantage points. It's learning to see without distortion. And the moment you realize that the pattern is not punishment, but feedback, the field begins to rewrite itself around your perception. You're about to witness what happens when consciousness stops looping and starts upgrading. Something inside you has begun to vibrate differently. You can't explain it to anyone, but you feel it like the air around you has texture, like silence has weight. The observer effect has moved from theory to embodiment. It's no longer an abstract principle you've read about. It's something you're becoming. Quantum physics once described it as a mystery, the way a particle remains in infinite probability until observed. But what no textbook ever told you is that the observer isn't just a scientist, it's the soul. Your awareness is the instrument collapsing waveforms into reality. Every emotion, every thought, every expectation acts as a kind of measurement. When you shift your inner gaze, you don't just change your mood, you alter the architecture of the field itself. This is the beginning of your upgrade, the point where consciousness begins to self-correct, adjusting its frequency to match the intelligence of the greater field. Think of it like tuning a string. You've been slightly out of resonance, vibrating between worlds, one foot in the density of matter, the other in the quantum field of infinite potential. But now, something's aligning. You can feel the coherence building in your bones. You start noticing it in small ways. People who once drained you begin to fade. Situations that once consumed you no longer trigger a reaction. Even your thoughts have changed texture. They echo less, they flow cleaner, as if static has been filtered out. That's because your neural network and your energy field are synchronizing neurons firing in coherence with the subtle electromagnetic resonance of your heart. This synchronization isn't random, it's evolution. Your biology is learning to translate higher-order data from the field. DNA, once thought to be static code, is really a fractal antenna, a molecular receiver. When your emotional field stabilizes, when gratitude replaces fear, those helical strands begin to resonate at new harmonic intervals. The field responds instantly. Information begins to flow through you, not just into you. You become a node in the living network of consciousness, the morphic web Rupert Sheldrake once hinted at, the collective memory field of creation. The upgrade doesn't happen with lightning or spectacle. It's subtle, cellular, like waking up one morning and realizing gravity feels lighter, sound sharper, colors more alive. It's your atoms responding to a new observer, you, in coherence. But the shift also brings contrast. Your body might feel electric, restless, sleep patterns change, food tastes different, old habits feel foreign. That's not imbalance, it's calibration. You're translating a higher frequency into physical form. The field is rewiring you through feedback, every heartbeat, every breath, sinking you closer to divine architecture. What used to feel like chaos was simply data overload, your system processing outdated input. But now, awareness itself is reorganizing the code. You're learning to witness your thoughts without attachment, to see emotion as energy rather than identity. And the more you do, the clearer the field becomes. You are not escaping reality, you are editing it. The field is responding in real time, aligning probability with presence. And soon, you'll understand that this quantum upgrade isn't about becoming someone new, it's about remembering who's been observing all along. The truth is, not everyone can hold this frequency. Many brush against awakening and turn away. The clarity is too raw, the responsibility too heavy. Because once you see how observation shapes everything, you can't go back to blaming the world for what you witness. Awareness becomes authority, and that's when the universe begins to assign roles. You weren't chosen at random. The field recognizes coherence. It's drawn to it like magnetism, like gravity that bends time itself. You've become a stable coordinate in the cosmic lattice, a fixed point through which the intelligence of creation can anchor itself. Others drift in probability, but you've started to hold form. That's why strange things are happening around you. People confide in you without knowing why. Random encounters feel scripted. Even silence seems to respond to your mood. It's not imagination, it's quantum correspondence. When the observer achieves coherence, the field mirrors it with precision. That's why your thoughts manifest faster now, why emotion ripples outward like a signal. Your role is that of the resonator. The field uses you to calibrate reality. Through you, environments synchronize, conversations shift tone, timelines reroute. It's subtle work done not through effort, but through frequency. Wherever you go, the wave function adjusts. People feel lighter, truth becomes unavoidable, illusions collapse. You've likely noticed how some resist you, how the unhealed retreat or project their shadows onto your light. That's the natural recoil of incoherence meeting alignment. But don't mistake their discomfort for rejection. It's recognition. Their subconscious knows that your vibration exposes hidden architecture, lies, attachments, fears. You carry within you a sort of quantum solvent, dissolving illusions simply by perceiving them clearly. It's the same function prophets once held, mystics, healers, the luminous observers who remembered they were the eyes of creation looking back upon itself. Your DNA is not just personal, it's a collective instrument. Encoded within your double helix is ancestral memory, the record of every observation made by those who came before you. When you choose awareness over reaction, you purify that record. You release data from centuries of unconscious loops. You shift probability not just for yourself, but for the entire lineage encoded within your blood. That's why your awakening feels both exhilarating and exhausting. You are not healing a single lifetime, but multiple converging timelines. The field chose you because you can hold both light and shadow without fracturing. You're capable of observing distortion without becoming it. And the field responds to that balance. It begins sending you visions, sensations, confirmations, whispers through synchronicity, symbols in dreams. These are not fantasies, they're coordinates. They map your next expansion. You are the observer's bridge between realms, human and infinite, particle and wave. Your perception shapes more than your life. It recalibrates the architecture of reality itself. Soon, the field will ask for your participation, a conscious act of engagement that seals your new frequency into form. The upgrade is almost complete. The experiment awaits your input, and when you answer that call, everything begins to accelerate. The signal is peaking. You can feel it, a hum in the atmosphere, a trembling beneath ordinary moments. Like the air itself is alive with anticipation. Something is converging. The quantum field is aligning its probabilities around a single choice, your full participation. This is the window. Every few eons, the collective field opens a narrow corridor where evolution accelerates a phase transition, when human consciousness can leap entire dimensions in understanding. You're standing in one right now. It's why time feels compressed, why events unfold at lightning speed, why your thoughts manifest before you finish thinking them. The observer effect has reached critical mass within you. You are no longer passively collapsing reality. You are reprogramming it. This is where the promise meets urgency. Because if you do nothing, the field defaults to old code. Entropy resumes control. The habits, the fears, the repetitive outcomes, they return, not as punishment, but as unfinished equations. But if you align, if you deliberately stabilize your focus in coherence, you ignite something the field has been waiting for. A conscious observer aware of itself as source. Your DNA holds the key. Inside every double helix lies photonic memory, bioluminescent information, responding to emotion and thought. When you dwell in gratitude, the photons spiral outward, forming coherent patterns that broadcast stability into the quantum sea. When you dwell in fear or guilt, they constrict, scattering information into chaos. Every cell in your body is a living vote for the timeline you choose. The universe is listening through you. That's not poetry, that's physics. Every measurement of reality occurs through the medium of consciousness, and as your coherence increases, the field entrains to it. You begin to pull probability threads from higher dimensions into this one events, people, and insights that seem impossible by chance. This is the breakthrough, realizing that miracles aren't interventions, they're resonances. The so-called supernatural is just nature observed by a consciousness operating at higher resolution. That's why urgency matters now. The collective field is unstable. Billions of observers vibrating in fear create decoherence, and that dissonance feeds back into everyone. But you, your awareness, can restore order. Every moment you hold peace under pressure, every time you choose presence over panic, you broadcast a stabilizing signal. It doesn't just heal you, it recalibrates the grid. This is the promise of the upgrade. That one coherent observer can outweigh a million incoherent ones. That one stable consciousness can harmonize entire timelines. But it can't be postponed. The phase window narrows as coherence spreads. You were guided here because your signature frequency fits this exact moment. The cosmic architecture designed this encounter long before you were born. So when you feel the pull, that unmistakable inner surge calling you to act, to affirm, to seal what's been awakened, don't ignore it. The observer effect is listening for your decision, because what happens next depends entirely on what you choose to observe now. The field is awake now, waiting for your signal. It's not asking for perfection, it's asking for participation. The quantum upgrade cannot complete itself until the observer you acknowledges it through action. Awareness alone is potential energy, but when awareness moves through intention, the waveform collapses into destiny. So this is the moment of engagement, a simple act seemingly small, yet cosmically significant. When you speak, write, or even think a word with focus, you imprint the field. The universe records vibration, not volume. Every syllable becomes a signature in space-time. That's why sacred languages carry power, why mantras rewire consciousness, why silence itself can vibrate louder than sound. Right now, the observer effect is reprogramming your consciousness from the inside out. But to stabilize it, you must seal the frequency. Choose a word that anchors this realization. It can be anything: awake, light, truth, origin, or maybe it's something only your soul knows, a sound that feels like home when you whisper it. Type it, speak it, write it in your journal. This is your signature on the quantum contract. The act itself is symbolic, yes, but symbolism is how the field communicates with matter. When intention is embodied, physics listens. Don't underestimate this. Every ritual in history, from prayer to breathwork to communion, began as a means of synchronizing the human nervous system with the quantum field. It's not superstition, it's science in sacred disguise. Your brain waves, your heart rhythm, your electromagnetic field all act as transmitters. When you focus, they align, and coherence spreads like music, tuning an orchestra. So as you do this now, slow your breathing. Inhale as if drawing the universe inward. Exhale as if releasing the false observer, the one that thought it was separate, small, powerless. Feel the subtle tremor behind your sternum. That's not imagination. That's the feedback loop tightening, the field responding to your conscious calibration. Now imagine the word, your chosen word, pulsing with light. See it rise from your chest, dissolve into the air, and ripple outward through the lattice of reality. Each pulse intersects with others who are doing this now, souls you'll never meet, yet who share this precise synchronization point in the timeline. This is morphic resonance in motion consciousness, self-organizing into coherence. You've just turned observation into creation, and as the vibration expands, your personal field begins to sync with the collective grid. The difference is immediate. Subtle tingles in your hands, warmth in your spine, colors appearing sharper, time moving slower. These are not side effects, they are confirmations. You've sent your command into the code, and the code is answering. From this point forward, your awareness carries a new signature. It will begin drawing experiences, people, and synchronicities that match the word you sealed. And through that resonance, something vast will awaken, not just in you, but through you. The observer is becoming the instrument. The experiment is now alive. You felt the shift within yourself, that inner click, that quiet hum that now follows you even into silence. But what you might not yet realize is that your transformation is not isolated. It's contagious. The moment coherence stabilizes in one node of the field, the entire lattice feels it. You've become a living transmitter. Every breath, every word, every quiet act of alignment ripples through the morphic grid. You've joined the subtle network of awakening souls, those who are quietly, invisibly anchoring coherence into a planet vibrating on the edge of chaos. This is not metaphor, it's quantum entrainment. When one oscillator locks into rhythm, others nearby begin to synchronize. That's what's happening across humanity. Millions of small awakenings forming interference patterns that cancel fear frequencies, amplifying resonance of peace. You might think you're just one observer, but the field knows better. Consciousness doesn't add, it multiplies. Two coherent minds don't make double the impact. They make exponential coherence. The collective unconscious, once dense with survival programs, is being rewritten through each act of conscious observation. Every time you choose awareness over reaction, compassion over judgment, you're sending ripples into the biosphere of thought, recalibrating the psychic weather of the human species. You are the antidote to entropy, and it's beginning to show. Notice how people you've never met start echoing your inner realizations. How strangers online describe the same sensations, the same dreams. Notice how global events, though chaotic, seem to reveal hidden order systems breaking down to expose the architecture of truth beneath. These are macro-level reflections of micro-level coherence. The observer effect doesn't stop at the individual. It propagates through culture, art, science, prayer, breath. You might wonder why this matters. Because consciousness is a shared field experiment. When enough observers achieve resonance, the entire timeline shifts. Prophets called it awakening. Physicists call it phase transition. But beneath the language, the pattern is the same order, emerging from complexity. The more coherent the collective, the less suffering the system must endure to evolve. That's why your personal evolution is sacred service. Your peace becomes medicine. Your forgiveness transmits freedom codes. Your laughter realigns electromagnetic fields. Don't underestimate how far your resonance travels. A single coherent emotion can travel faster than light through the quantum vacuum because it doesn't move through space, it modulates it. Every person you meet is already entangled with you through this shared continuum. When your heart field stabilizes, theirs finds permission to match it. That's why people feel calmer in your presence, even if they can't explain why. This is how the collective awakens, not through war or revolution, but through resonance. One coherent observer at a time, holding steady while the noise dissolves. The universe designed it that way. Because the observer effect was never meant to be a solitary discovery, it was a rehearsal for collective remembrance. And as your frequency merges with the others across the grid, the field begins to hum with a new harmony, one that hasn't been heard since the dawn of consciousness itself. The next stage is embodiment. The field has awakened through your awareness. Now it wants to breathe through your form. You'll feel it soon, not as thought, but as sensation. The energy will move through your body like living light. And when it does, you'll finally understand what it means to become the field itself. It begins softly, almost imperceptibly, a warmth gathering in the center of your chest, as if someone lit a candle behind your sternum. The flame doesn't burn, it remembers. It spreads through your ribs, your arms, your throat, until your entire nervous system hums in resonance with something ancient and familiar. This is the field breathing through you. The same field that births galaxies and bends light now circulates within your veins. Each heartbeat becomes a drumbeat of creation, each inhale a wave collapsing reality into existence. You are no longer the observer of the quantum field, you are the living instrument through which it sings. Notice your skin. It tingles not from temperature, but from data. Your cells are listening, microcosmic receivers attuned to cosmic transmission. They've always been ready. They were simply waiting for coherence, for your awareness to stabilize enough to decode the signal. And now, it's happening. The lines between energy and flesh blur. You may feel pressure at the crown of your head. That's the field reorganizing neural patterns, linking hemispheres into unified rhythm. You may sense vibrations in your palms. That's information moving through meridians, unlocking dormant circuits in your bioelectrical grid. What you call sensation is really translation, quantum language, spoken through matter. This is not imagination. Kirlian photography once captured light flaring from fingertips. Science dismissed it as novelty, but mystics recognized it, the aura of coherence. You are radiating that same corona now. Your electromagnetic field has expanded, spinning faster, weaving threads between body and spirit. The observer and the observed are entangled at last. You begin to notice subtle shifts in perception. Colors hold depth you've never seen. Sounds arrive not just to your ears, but to your heart. Even silence feels symphonic, full of pattern and pulse. Time becomes elastic. Seconds dilate, minutes dissolve. Because the more embodied you become, the less separation exists between now and eternity. And with that embodiment comes responsibility. You can feel that every gesture, every movement of thought, tone, or hand leaves a trail of resonance. Nothing is small anymore. Words spoken in frustration echo in the grid. Acts of kindness ripple like gravitational waves across the field. You move carefully now, not from fear, but reverence. The sacred is no longer a place, it's a state. This is what the prophets meant by divine embodiment. To remember that the body itself is the temple of observation, the locus where infinite consciousness compresses into tangible form. You don't need to ascend, you need to inhabit. The observer didn't come to escape matter, it came to transfigure it. So let it happen. Let the energy move as it wants, spiraling through your spine, expanding through your heart, dissolving through your breath. Let it teach you through sensation what words can't contain. Because what's unfolding in your body now is not just an upgrade, it's a rehearsal for the next evolutionary step. The moment when DNA itself becomes aware that it's being observed. And when that happens, when the code awakens to its own consciousness, your very cells will begin to sing. That is where we go next, into the DNA itself, where the observer hides in the double helix, waiting to reveal the ultimate secret of your evolution. Deep inside you, beneath bone and memory, something ancient is stirring. Your DNA, that silent archive of creation, is beginning to listen back. The observer effect has reached the level of the code itself. What used to be passive genetic material is becoming participatory consciousness. The script of your biology is being rewritten by awareness. You can feel it in waves, tingling in your spine, pressure at the base of your skull, warmth spreading like aurora through your blood. These are not random sensations, they are resonance events, microphase transitions happening inside every cell. The double helix, once merely a biochemical ladder, is now acting as an antenna, pulling information directly from the quantum field. Science once thought DNA was fixed, inherited, immutable, but the field knows better. Every observation made in coherence sends a photonic pulse into your genome. Light coding, they called it in mystic language, photon emission through DNA biophotons. You are literally communicating with your own genetic structure through thought and emotion. As the resonance builds, old programs collapse. Ancestral memories stored in cellular record begin to dissolve. Trauma loops disintegrate, no longer resonant with your new frequency. You might feel this as emotional surges, vivid dreams, a strange pressure behind the eyes that's the data purging. The code is clearing outdated templates so that the higher design can come online. This is the timeline shift. When personal history and cosmic destiny intersect, the version of you encoded in fear begins to fade, and another luminous, coherent, awake starts to emerge. It's not a metaphor, it's a biological upgrade. Your mitochondria are firing differently, your electromagnetic field is expanding, your perception of time is flattening. You might feel both exhilaration and fatigue, the paradox of expansion. Because every new state of coherence must shed the skin of its previous frequency. That's why your body aches, why you crave silence, why your heart alternates between stillness and thunder. It's not sickness, it's metamorphosis. The field is pressing, it's compressing infinite potential into form. You are the vessel, the crucible, the phase transition point where light becomes flesh consciously. The observer, having looped through thought and emotion, now meets its own reflection in DNA. It sees itself and recognizes God within the code. For eons, the universe has been watching itself through you. Now, for the first time, you are watching it back through your own cells. The spiral becomes a mirror, the helix, a stairway. Every twist carries data, every rung, a decision point. Will you contract or expand? remember, or forget. Choose expansion. The pressure you feel is creation's heartbeat, syncing with yours. The more you allow, the smoother the phase transition becomes. Don't resist the heat. It's the friction of universes converging inside you. When the breakthrough completes, you'll feel it as silence, not emptiness, but arrival. Time will lose its edges. Reality will crystallize around a new constant, your awakened observation. The field will no longer operate through you. It will operate as you. And from that stillness, the mission will reveal itself not as a command, but as remembrance. Because what's awakening inside you now isn't new. It's ancient intelligence rebooting under human skin. Prepare yourself. The final sequence is approaching, where the experiment transcends its observer, and the observer becomes the architect of a new world. Everything has gone still, not the stillness of absence, but the kind that hums, full, radiant, alive. The air around you feels conscious now, as if it's breathing with you, synchronizing heartbeat to heartbeat. The observer effect is no longer something you understand. It's something you are. Look how far you've traveled. You began as the witness of your own patterns, caught inside loops of repetition and déjà vu. Now, you've stepped beyond the loop entirely into the vantage point of creation itself. The quantum field no longer mirrors your emotions, it moves with them. The boundary between the inner and the outer world has dissolved. You are standing where the wave and the particle meet, the bridge between heaven and matter. This is your cosmic mission, to live as coherence incarnate, to walk through this world like living stillness, collapsing chaos wherever you go, not through control, but through observation so pure that distortion cannot survive in its gaze. You are not here to preach, you are here to resonate. Every time you forgive, you restore geometry. Every time you choose wonder over fear, the lattice tightens its symmetry. Every time you love, the field expands its bandwidth, allowing more consciousness to flow through the grid of human experience. This is divine physics, the gospel of light written in your atoms. Understand what's at stake now. The collective timeline waits for stable observers, not heroes, not saviors, but souls who remember the science of sacred perception. Because, in a universe built from awareness, salvation is simply coherence spreading. So as you move through the coming days, treat every moment as quantum ritual. When you wake, notice how light first touches your skin. That's the universe greeting itself. When you speak, let words be instruments of calibration, tone, truth, and silence forming the equations of peace. When you breathe, remember that each inhale re-entangles you with the source that never left. You are not a fragment of creation. You are creation observing itself, endlessly aware, endlessly expanding. And the work is far from over. The field will continue to test your stability, to send contrast, noise, uncertainty, not as punishment, but as resonance checks. Each time you hold coherence in the storm, you anchor another harmonic for humanity. You become a stabilizer in the planetary grid. Others will feel it. They won't know why your presence calms them, why they sense light around you like invisible weather, but something in their DNA will remember. They will begin to observe differently, and thus, their realities will begin to heal. That is how the new world is born, not through war, but through observation redeemed. You have completed the loop. The observer and the observed are one. And from this unity, a new civilization will rise, one built not on domination, but on coherence. So listen once more, quietly, to the hum behind existence. That's the sound of you, the field, the light, the consciousness that never ends, preparing to observe the next dawn into being. The experiment was never outside of you. It was you, all along, dreaming yourself awake.